Update. I found a text thread where my fiancé told a friend he is worried about our wedding photos. Original post. My fiancé Dave, 32 male, and I, 34 female, have been dating for 2 years and live together. Earlier today, I was using his iPad to watch a show in our room because I wasn't feeling well and we don't have a TV in our room. We don't use the iPad much, maybe a couple of times a month. While I was watching, he was getting texts from a friend of his, Mike. The banner just said text message, so I kept swiping up. But they were coming in so fast. At one point, I accidentally opened the text conversation. So, to start, I'm not a beauty. That doesn't mean I'm not confident, though. There's rarely a day that goes by where I look in the mirror and am unsatisfied with my appearance. How people treat women who do not fit any mold of attractiveness is a story for a different day. But I've often been referred to as a starter girlfriend or a stepping stone, and told that my exes had no confidence since they chose to date me, or that they were closeted. Every guy I've ever asked out has always said no. I'm not someone who dates just to date. I don't chase guys anymore, and generally I've stayed away from dating. It took some time to trust that someone was interested in me and wasn't going to drop me when someone better came along. So the texts were Dave sending pictures of me to his friend, trying to figure out what my best angle is. Mike said that my left side is tolerable, I guess. If anything, you should tell the photographer to focus on that side. Dave expressed his frustration, saying something like, I think I do want to marry her, but maybe you're right. Just ask the photographer to edit some things here and there. And Mike said, it would make you both feel better. Maybe just have photos of her straight on, since she looks best that way. I was more offended than hurt, and I'm still more offended than hurt. I know I'm not attractive, but to say I need editing in my own wedding pictures is so rude and demeaning. I took screenshots with my phone and handed the iPad back to Dave, so the first thing you see when you open it is the conversation. He asked me how the movie was, and I told him it was great. Then we had lunch. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and he knew immediately something was up, and kept pestering me about it. I kept saying I was still feeling off, but he kept asking. So I told him he should talk to Mike about his concerns, since he and Mike have so many opinions about me. He kind of turned white for a second, before asking me what I meant. I handed him his iPad, then went to our bedroom and shut the door. He hasn't come to talk to me for a few hours, which is killing me. We usually talk things through, but I don't know what to do. I know he hasn't left the apartment. Now for the top advice before reading the update. There's a lot of messed up stuff posted here, but this is one of the saddest I've ever read. I got nothing. OP gets to now leave him and find someone who thinks she's beautiful. She seems confident in herself. She deserves better. It's probably better to figure this out about her fiancé now than later. Oh man, my heart broke for you reading this. You don't need to settle for someone who doesn't love you completely and unconditionally. It's true when they say love is blind. Someone who truly loves you wouldn't be worrying about how you will look in your wedding photos. And he absolutely wouldn't be allowing his friend to put you down for your looks. I know the thought of spending your life alone is scary and depressing, but trust me, it is way better than spending your life in a bad relationship. You deserve so much better. Exactly this. He clearly thinks he is the one settling, but OP, if you marry this man, you will be settling for less than you deserve. Your wedding photos are meant to commemorate the day you celebrate your love. Could you really smile through photos knowing this now? On your wedding day or ever again? Would he have told you about asking the photographer to edit them, or just let you find out when you saw them? You deserve so much better than this. See, I'm more of a grasp-the-moment kind of person, and I'd imagine an iPad makes an excellent frisbee if you fling it at the head of someone who supposedly loves you, but instead is so focused on appearances he can't see past his own stuck-up nose. I would tell him the wedding photos are going to cost a fortune because of all the airbrushing that's going to have to get done to remove the massive chip on his shoulder. And seriously, I would get the conversation started immediately and find out exactly what his issue with you is. This is not okay, and it will continue into the marriage. Imagine what he'll do to your children if you have any. Now for the update. I posted this about a month ago. There were a lot of comments, but more often than not, people told me to leave and said I didn't deserve him and all that. We had a civil conversation, our first in a while, and he told me he had been wanting to break up for some time, but didn't think it was right. Apparently, he cares about me, but had still wanted to break up, and felt bad about it. He also said he doesn't know how to handle criticism about our relationship from other people. So I took that advice and left. It only took a few days. I hired movers to take my things. We talked a few times, but I was really busy with work and packing, so we mostly stayed away from each other. I found an apartment for rent, and here I am. It's a really nice place, and I'm happy it is, but I can't say I'm much happier. If anything, I might be a little worse off, I guess. Like I mentioned in my original post, I'm aware of how I look. Now that I'm alone, it's all I can really think about. Talking about it with my family just leads to things like, "Oh, you're great. You're too beautiful to deal with someone so ugly," which kind of makes it worse. All my friends are pretty, and the way we're treated in public is just a reminder. Going out as a group to a club means a photographer getting shots of them, and one even asked me to take a picture of him with everyone else. I've generally paid for more than half of everything. I'm not saying guys should pay for anything, but my friends are always getting things from their boyfriends or husbands, even cars. I'm definitely excited for them, but it's still a reminder. I've been trying to work out more because I gained about 20 pounds since we started dating. I do work out sometimes, but more often I snooze my alarm. There's a novel I'm trying to write, and I've gotten some written, but I'm having trouble staying motivated. I read, get inspired, and then write about 200 to 400 words once or twice a day, which is good so far. I found my Xbox and have been playing Oblivion again, lol. I draw a little too, but my apartment is an absolute mess, and I don't miss him or anything. It's actually quite nice being on my own, but I'm just so sad. Maybe I don't have a distraction. I can't really put my finger on it. Overall, though, I'm doing well. Everyone was right about leaving him because we'd both grown pretty agitated with one another, and it was reaching a breaking point. Living alone has helped a lot. Oh wow, I could have written so much of this post myself. It is so hard being an unattractive woman. I've gone through a lot of the same things, including being asked to stand out of photos. People honestly don't get, or maybe don't care, how rude it is. Society places so much value on a woman's looks that it is hard to see past that. What I ended up doing was just stop dating. I've been single now for 8 years, but I feel so much better for it. I am focused on me, my career, my life, my health, my hobbies, and I don't feel like I have to worry about what anyone thinks about me. The single life is so freeing. I am so glad you are taking this time to find yourself. You are important and deserve happiness. I really hope everything goes well for you. Best of luck. He had wanted to break up for a while, but then went ahead with the proposal and the wedding planning? What kind of time wasting? A lack of spine does that to you. It's also likely that the ex-fiancé isn't much of a catch himself either, beyond his winning personality. Could be he was going through with it even though he didn't really like or was attracted to OP because he hasn't been able to get any other girl attracted to him. Poor girl. I can't imagine how much that would wreck your self-esteem. Being talked about like that by the person you're supposed to marry is brutal. So I dated a fat girl once. Her words, not mine. Perhaps not the body type I usually find appealing, but you fall in love with who you fall in love with, right? Not once during our relationship did it bother me that she was on the heavier side, and I was proud to show her off. Had anyone talked like that with me, you better freaking believe I would rain down fire and brimstone on them. And you know, I am not saying this because I think it portrays me in a particularly positive light, because this is just basic freaking decency towards your partner. Can't you even give them that? Just let someone who will treat them better do it. Next story. Update. Am I overreacting because I told my niece I don't want to take her best friend with us anymore after she kept telling me I was a victim and my husband was a creep? Original post. Recently, I, 34 female, took my niece and her best friend out for lunch and Christmas shopping. They were talking about boys they liked, and my niece's friend asked how I met my husband, 40 male. I told her that I had basically known him my whole life, and she immediately made a disgusted face and yelled rather loudly, "You, that is so gross. You don't even realize you were a victim, do you? You married your groomer." I was really bothered by it and by my niece's silence, but I ignored her and told them to just keep shopping. People assume that because we have a 6-year age gap, that we knew each other most of our lives, and that we started dating when I was 20, that I was groomed. They don't let me explain how it actually happened in the first place. After I dropped off my niece's friend, I told my niece that I didn't want to do any more outings with that friend. She's 15, so she unsurprisingly lost her cool, refusing to admit that her friend crossed the line by talking to me the way she did. I didn't say anything personal about the girl, and I wasn't yelling. I just said, "Look, I don't want to take you and your friend out anymore. You can bring friends, but I don't want to be around her." For anyone interested in deciding whether my niece's friend was right, my husband and I did grow up together. He's been my older brother's best friend since they were 8, so we probably met when I was 2 or 3. He lived 2 blocks over, so he was always around. My brother always included me when his friends came over, so whether it was board games or video games, I was always there. As we all got older, they would let me go with them to the movies, skate parks, or most places they went. Neither of them had a problem with me being around. My husband and I didn't hang out on our own though, not more than a few minutes of idle chatting if he came by and my brother wasn't there. We never had each other's phone numbers, and we didn't seek each other out. I had a little crush on him most of my life, but it was just a "man, he is so cute" kind of crush, not a "how do I make him notice me more" crush. We never thought anything of the other dating. We both admit now that some of our exes were real doozies, but we weren't close enough friends to butt in that way. We weren't best friends, but both of us referred to the other as a friend. So when I went away to college, we weren't in contact unless I called my brother, and they happened to be hanging out together. When I drove home for winter break my first year, my car broke down. It wouldn't budge. I was on a poorly lit back road in the middle of nowhere, and I panicked. I called my brother and asked if he knew what his friend was doing at the moment. He worked on cars a lot, and had a friend with a tow truck who would let him use it. It turned out they were hanging out that night, so my future husband asked where I was and said, "No problem, I'll get you." An hour and a half later, he showed up as promised. He told me to get in the truck to warm up, and said he'd brought me a blanket and a thermos of coffee. He got my car onto the truck and hopped in, making sure I was okay and asking if I needed to stop anywhere before we got home. Then he asked why I hadn't called him in the first place. I reminded him that we'd never needed to exchange numbers before, and he said, "Well, let's fix that now." Over the next 2 years, we would occasionally text each other. It started with stupid video game or movie memes that made us laugh, but slowly grew into texting once or twice a week about work, classes, and things we were doing. We were casually dating other people here and there, but it was never a problem for either of us. After all, we weren't in a relationship, and even when I was home, we still weren't spending time together alone. During my 3rd year of school, I was home for Christmas again, and my now husband asked if I wanted to go to a bar where a friend of his was playing in a band. My brother was a new dad and wasn't going. I asked if it would be a problem that I was only 20, but he said that the drummer's little sister was still in high school and would sometimes go watch him play, so I just shouldn't try to order drinks. During my winter break, we spent a lot of time together. It felt like a lot, because we weren't used to it being just the 2 of us. My brother was busy with my niece and my sister-in-law, and we had free time. The 5th time we hung out during my 3.5-week break was the last before I left. Before we went our separate ways, he asked me if it would be okay if he kissed me. I was surprised, but I enthusiastically said yes. The rest is history. So in addition to, am I overreacting to a 15-year-old girl publicly yelling that I was groomed? I also want to ask, does this honestly sound like I was groomed? No, you weren't groomed. That's a completely normal way to meet someone. Your niece's friend has consumed too much social media. Exactly. It's frustrating to see serious terms like grooming get watered down until they lose all meaning. Social media has convinced a lot of kids that merely knowing of someone's existence while growing up makes any future relationship predatory. Even putting that aside, yelling "you" at the adult who is currently treating you to lunch is just wildly entitled behavior. You made the right call. So I'm going to offer a possible different perspective here, but also agree her assumptions were quite out of line and hurtful. However, in this case, I'm going to point out the age difference between yourself and that I see this as a possible learning opportunity for both your niece and niece's friend. Sharing what you have shared to us and letting her know that not only did her assumption hurt your feelings and disrespected your relationship and your partner too, but also that if heard by the wrong people could give a terrible impression and have consequences to someone who doesn't deserve it. Teenagers are really good at putting their feet in their mouths, so I have been a big believer in the adage, it takes a village. And this is negative moment that could be turned into a positive moment instead. Also, I think in the end, you would feel better because likely the friend would understand and apologize. Or worst case, you let her know how you feel directly and gave her food for thought. This has the added benefit of taking some of the onus off of your niece, who doesn't feel torn between two opposing directions, so to speak. Regardless, ultimately it's your decision. And you were wronged most definitely, but it's possible that you still have the ability to address the situation positively if you decide to. In this case, you could have a sit down with your niece and just let her know the story and ask her, knowing the truth, if she really believes that you were groomed. Ask her what would happen if someone heard that about your husband, and does he deserve that? Then you can ask her to share this with said friend. Personally, for safety and growth, I think correcting the assumption is warranted. Now for the update. So, my niece and her friend saw my post because it blew up, even though I had made a throwaway account just for the question. This sped things up regarding when I plan to talk to the girls about it all. As several of you pointed out, I talk too much, so I'll keep this brief while still touching on a few points. Yes, the kid got in my head. It wasn't a brief passing comment. She kept pushing it for a few minutes, which is why I redirected. I was also just so taken aback by it, because it was something I never would have done as a kid. I should have come up with a better way to handle it, but I was trying to keep the night lighthearted. I am not my niece's guardian. I was not trying to block any part of their friendship, only whether I would let her tag along on our trips around town, only with me. My niece apologized. She was kind of in shock too and didn't know what to say. My niece's friend sent her a message to forward to me, apologizing as well. As some of you mentioned, she had a hard time imagining someone my husband's age. She thought he was at least 10 years older than me, seeing her at her age, and then growing up to be attracted to her. Everything is fine now. I told my niece that her friend can still hang out when I take her out, but that she needs to be more respectful to me and not jump to conclusions. And yes, my husband did ask my brother if it was okay to make a move on me, but neither of them can remember exactly when it happened. Now I'm abandoning this throwaway since everyone knows about it anyway.